Okay, so ghost story number 1, which was actually the first episode that I did on the podcast, and I never know what to do with my hands, so I'm just gonna like destroy my AirPod while I talk. Anyway, this story is one of my grandma's stories. It's probably one of the first scary stories that I remember her telling me as a kid. And before we start it, I'm gonna tell you a little backstory about the story. So my grandma was someone who didn't really like to tell ghost stories or sort of entertain those kinds of things, but she had a lot of experiences, so she would definitely talk about them, but it would take like a lot of persuading from me to get her to do it. So this one, when she would tell it, I was like, I just loved it so much. Okay, so anyway, it takes place probably in a setting that looks something like this. When she would tell me about this story, not many of the details would change, so I can pretty much do it word for word, but I might stumble a little bit. But anyway, so the setting for it is like an East Tennessee mountain road. It would have been sometime in the late 30s, early 40s, probably early 40s. And I don't know what season it was in. I wish I would have asked her specific details like that, but I didn't. I'm gonna go with probably warm enough to be outside walking, so maybe fall. We'll go with fall. But anyway, so the story goes like this. Okay, so she had a pretty large family of brothers and sisters, all, pretty close in the same age range, and like, some neighbor kids that they like hung out with. And they would walk from the town that they lived in, which was like a rural mountain community, to another town that was a little bit larger, so they could go watch movies in a theater there. So they would walk on this road in the mountains. And she said that this happened like multiple times. So on one occasion, they were walking back and they heard horses running behind them. So like the hooves of horses. This is hooves. Just running behind them. And she said that it was actually so forceful that they didn't even look behind them. They were just like, their natural instinct was just to get out of the way. So they actually took off running off of the road and like jumped up on a fence and then, looked back behind them and there were no horses there. So she said it happened, a couple times, but they never could see any horses. But they would always be able to hear these invisible horses like galloping towards them. It might not be the right word, but basically running at them on this road. So the biggest event that they had, though, was they had been at the theater and they were walking back, so it was dark and or like dusk